Good evening and welcome to this OBS, which is just like a Guess Who game for movie lovers, but I'll just run in the background while we're chatting rather than having a camera on either of us, unless I'm feeling particularly vain, and then I might...
Math Boyland, Jay Kalogia, they were the two people that I watched their videos in about 2012, but yeah, they don't seem to be very outspoken on YouTube, or they don't seem to attend these hangouts that occur on live streams and whatnot on YouTube. So yeah, I would say that I am very outspoken and I am interested in the flat earth, and I've been researching it for a very long time.
So when was it? When was your first, from what I gather, you're a gamer, but you were also out on the forums or whatever you want to call them, talking flat earth. So where did it start?
It started for me in about 2012, and I was researching just random conspiracies. So David Icke and the reptilian shapeshifters, different paranormal activity, and I started to go on a debunking for myself, just for my own personal pleasure. I wasn't making any videos, but I would analyze the videos and critique them to myself and figure out if they were fake or not, and try to get down to the root cause of all the, if there was any true conspiracy, So I looked into 9/11 vigorously. I looked into other events like Sandy Hook, the start of the crisis actors, if you wanted to call them that, the people that go in and participate in false flags and whatnot. I looked into all that type of information and then stumbled upon Flat Earth, and it was around 2012. And that was through Jay Kalogia and Math Boylan.
Right, but you were essentially mulling around the truth community, and while you were doing that, you were putting information out or just researching in 2012?
I was putting information out. I was doing videos about the crisis events at that time, and then as soon as I learned about Flat Earth, I started to try and tell the truther community, that's what they named themselves, the truther community. I tried to tell them about Flat Earth, and I was called a troll for bringing such a topic into their group, and from there I sort of outcasted myself because they weren't taking it seriously. So I tried to figure out if it had any plausibility. I started making videos on my original channel, which was just called Four, so Four. And after doing several videos about Flat Earth, and then starting to hold my own live streams, I had people like Tim Osman and other, if you want to call them trolls, whoever they really are. I had these people join my hangout, and they removed me several times, and then they eventually posted material that wasn't allowed on YouTube, which got my original channel taken down. And that channel had videos on it with over 500,000 views. I'll put videos about TB Joshua and his fraudulent activity on that channel. I had videos about the Sydney siege. I had videos about the Virginia shooting event that was a hoax that the media portrayed, said that one of their news reporters got shot. I had videos about Flat Earth, if I haven't already said that. I had like several different topics, but they were mainly conspiracy based, and that channel was taken down. I seemed like I was getting very popular. I had over 5,000 subscribers at that time, and I had videos, like I said, with over 500,000 views on them. And from there, I had to figure out what I wanted to do. So I then made a new account. I tried to get in contact with YouTube, but they said that the material isn't appropriate for YouTube that was put onto my channel via the trolls on a live hangout, which was pornographic material. So it was about 2013 or 14 where they entered my channel via a Google Hangout, and they posted the material that got that channel taken down. I then made a new channel and called it A4, and that was after looking into gematria and numerology, and I started to touch on different subjects about how the symbols behind numbers related to letters and whatnot, the alphabet. So the numbers were actually related symbolically to the letters. From there, that's when I made the name A4, and I continued on with not so much Flat Earth at first. I started to try and expose just NASA, because I thought that maybe that was why my channel was being attacked, was because they didn't want me to reveal Flat Earth, or they didn't want me to reach out to people with such a large following that I had on the original channel and get to the topic that was flat Earth. So I thought that if I expose NASA and get some type of a following that way by exposing NASA directly and actually putting the information out on how NASA is actually fraudulent, so analyzing their videos, showing where the CGI was used, showing where green screens were used, that maybe people would then be enticed to listen to the rest of what I had to say, which was then that NASA may be lying about the shape of the Earth and so on. Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry,
I've watched,
long rant there.
just in the brief time that I've seen you around, I've seen you get trolled to all hell and brace against it, and then in typical style, the bracing against their trolling is what gets held up against you. In other words, it's like you're being turned into them, and that's kind of the way I view you. You're being turned into a troll. You're being turned into the very monster that you're bracing against or fighting against, because they troll the living daylights out of you. And today you were on a show with lots of various globeheads and flat earthers, and all you wanted to do is get a few sentences out, and I was on the edge of my seat wanting to hear what you had to say, specifically about bots and people faking viewers. And it was fascinating to me because I know nothing about this subject, but they just wouldn't let you talk. You know, they just kept on repeating the same things over and over again, essentially trolling you. And I think the one guy, Clive, or Paper Explainer, or whatever his name was, just kept on saying he doesn't have any flat earth arguments. And he said it 8 times, you know, over the top of you. You know, it wasn't necessarily just trolling you. And you think this is behaviour that we all see, but knowing how long you've been doing it and how long you've been trolled for, I do have a lot of sympathy for the position you're in. Now, that's not to say I agree with some of your behaviour. On the other hand, I've discussed some of your behaviour with you, and you often have a very good justification for it. So how do you feel your path has led you to being perceived as a troll also? Yeah,
well, I would agree that, like, during my time researching Flat Earth, I've been trolled vigorously. Like, I've had my own death threats against me. I've had my information leaked. So originally, when I was doing all this research, if you wanted to call it that, whatever you wanted to refer this as, so looking into the topic of Flat Earth, I was anonymous and I had my personal information leaked. So they call that doxing. I didn't actually give my information out. After they doxed me, that's when I come out and said, yes, my name's Adam Dwyer, and yes, I do live in Sydney, Australia, and yes, I am interested in the Flat Earth. I'm not a troll. I'm not trying to, remain anonymous. I was anonymous originally because I just wanted to, figure it out, and I didn't want to be, I didn't want to have my family members or friends, attacked, and which that happened. I had my friends receive messages about me or about themselves. You know what I mean? Like they've attacked people on my Facebook. They've attacked me.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But can you explain it? So doxing comes from the word documents, but can you explain to the audience what doxing actually is and what it entails?
Well, if you are anonymous at any time on the internet and your information is then released publicly without your permission. So that was what it was they somehow got my information, they found out who I was, and then they leaked it out to everybody. And there's other people named Adam Dwyer. So at the time when I was making videos about Flat Earth, and they originally said that's Adam Dwyer, and they released my personal information and made it public, they associated me with another person. They said that I was another Adam Dwyer. It was a person that had music videos on YouTube, and I didn't want that to occur. So I then come out and said, yes, my name's Adam Dwyer, but I'm not the person that you're talking about. I'm not this Adam Dwyer that has these music videos on YouTube. So I then tried to protect somebody else by coming out and revealing my identity after they, revealed my personal information, which was private at the time. So it's revealing the private information, really, that somebody has. So if you come onto the internet and you wish to remain private and not reveal your identity, you have every right to that anonymity. And if somebody then finds that information information, whether it be legally or illegally, and then reveals it, makes it public information, that is what is referred to as doxing.
I mean, my understanding also was that the information is public to begin with, though. I mean, you said illegally or legally. I suppose that's where you're drawing the line. But often with these doxings, they're against YouTube policy anyway, so people shouldn't be doing this. But ultimately speaking, they're finding the information on a public forum or a registry of some kind. In other words, 99 times out of 100, the information has been published by the very person that's being doxed.
Yes, but not in the way that they would like it to be, so they may have, there's different ways that they can get to that information. So if they've done it legally per se, it still doesn't mean it's not doxing, because the doxing actually refers to private information, whether it be open or, it's private information. It's your information about yourself, and then it's leaked publicly without your permission, so if you give the permission for that information to then be spread around, well, then that's not really referred to as doxing. That's just, revealing your identity. But illegally or legally, that's the point of this. It doesn't matter whether it's legal or illegal, the way that they've got to your information. It matters about whether you gave them permission to reveal that information, because it is not theirs to give.
Okay. I mean, how was it specifically that you found yourself talking about Flat Earth to people who absolutely despise the subject? Because it seems to me that you have trolls gravitate to you. Or is it maybe that's my perception, maybe it's you putting yourself in that position. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how is it that you find yourself surrounded by people like Tim Osman, and I can see Flat Earth Reset in the chat. I don't know if you've had your run-ins with him, but how is it that you find yourself, I say around the campfire, but you're literally around the campfire with these people a lot of the time?
Well, because I've been in it so long, I have been trolled myself. Like when I originally started, up to about 3 years into the topic, I went from being a very nice person to then being trolled to the point where I retaliated and went way over the top. Like I admit, and I'm sorry to the people that I have said derogatory things to. There is no real excuse for it, but my explanation to why I've done and said the things I've said is it's retaliation. It's a long leading process that led me to then retaliate in that way. I didn't just come out of nowhere and then start calling people names. I was originally, willing to have a conversation with anybody, whether other people called them a troll or not. And then I come to a conclusion after studying I found out about media shills, and I found out about them a long time ago. People that come in and they derail it from the truth, which is them being paid to be here. And if you expose these people, or you even mention that, then they will bring up any information about you that they've kept. So they've data mined you. So everything that I've said in the past is then brought up by these trolls. And I keep on coming back to these people and then trying to out them. And like you said, how do I find myself around this same group, like the Tim Osmans or whoever it may be, these trolls, or these paid shills, as I like to call them. Well, I put myself in that position, so then people may see what's really occurring. They may say to themselves, well, Adam, I might not be somebody that they can relate to, but they might be able to see through the bullshit that these trolls are pushing. It seems like they want to just continue a narrative that leads nowhere. They want to have arguments with people about mundane things, but they don't want to get to the true core or they don't want to talk about any real information, like a person being paid to sit in a community and make it a circle jerk. So I do that on purpose. I continually come back to put myself in a position where other people don't get attacked like I've been attacked. At least if I'm the one that's continually getting attacked and they're continually bringing up the information about me, other people don't have to fall victim to what I've fallen victim to.
Right.
If
so
that makes
yeah, you're kind of saying that you make yourself a bit of a martyr.
In a way, yeah. In a way.
I mean, it's self-deprecating. I mean, it seems like you're a bit of a, dare I say it, is it a masochist?
I'm not too sure what that means, so sorry.
it's like putting yourself in a position where you're going to have pain inflicted upon you. In other words,
well, I don't
almost like you
feel
enjoy
any
the pain. That's why I said, dare I say it.
Yeah, I don't feel any pain or anything like this. I don't find what they say offensive to me anymore. They bring up a lot of the shit, and it might seem like I'm getting heated at times, and it might seem like I'm retaliating or whatnot, but it's really just a game for me now. It's making them reveal their real actions, and I'm just hoping that people see through their bullshit. So when I joined the show today, I knew that I was going to have people interrupting me. I knew that I was going to have people remove me from the show, and I knew that by me mentioning the fact that they're paid, that they would band together as a little group and then attack me in whatever way possible. And that's why I tried to entice them into doing it, to show their real true colors, to show that they're not really here for a discussion. They're not really here to share information. The only reason that they seem to be here for is to continually get the paycheck that's enticing them to be here. Somebody's paying these people to come and derail the conversations away from any real structure, so then they can do whatever company's doing it. I can't tell you the true agenda to why it's being done. I have my own assumptions to why it's being done, but at least I'm bringing the attention to these people that are paid.
But have you ever heard the term non sequitur conclusion?
No, what's that? If you can explain.
Where a series of you made a nice series of statements that you could very easily take to be true. Oh, Siri likes to record this. Anyway, and then after your series of statements, you drew a conclusion that weren't necessarily causally linked to the series of statements that you made. So the fact that they are now paid, I mean, I hate to do this because I've just said these people have trolled the living daylights out of you. Now I'm actually agreeing with one of their points, which isn't really that fair, but I can't help it. If I agree, I agree, which is Clive said, well, show me where I'm paid. Now, I'm not saying that you're wrong and that he isn't, but you don't have any evidence to prove that. And you can make a general statement, that is to say that
I have proof, but I don't have evidence. The proof is their actions. It's their narrative. It's the script they follow. That's the proof. Proof is to compel the mind to assert something as true. It doesn't make it true, but there is an assumption that it is true. I don't have evidence, so the evidence would require me to have a paycheck or information about the company that employs them and their names being associated to that company. I don't have actual evidence. I have proof, and the proof is, like I said, it's their actions. It's the script they follow. It's their narrative. It's the things they spew out every day.
I mean, I'll agree with you, but in my mind's eye, I see not necessarily a script, but an indoctrination. And again, I'm not disagreeing with you that there may very well be people out there that are paid to do what you describe, but I know from personal experience there are people who will do it till they're blue in the face without being given a bean. They're not necessarily that interested in being paid to spout their rhetoric, and to assert that they are, it's difficult, especially from the chat, when the same applies to their arguments with the Sun. So you've got Validation Boy saying, well, just tell me what it is and give me some way of verifying that, as opposed to look at it and then draw a conclusion, which is what they do. They, spectroscopy, they're looking at it in various different wavelengths and then deciding what it is. And that's what you're doing. You're saying this is what they appear to be doing, and I'm not saying they're not doing that, but therefore you're drawing the conclusion they're paid agents. And I would say they're totally indoctrinated. That's why Clive was getting so angry with you. I don't know, I can't prove this either, but in the tone of his voice, I just think like you think that he isn't paid. I've got no proof either, but you can easily make the same generalised statement without attributing it to anybody on the panel. You can make it in front of the people you even suspect without them being able to pin it on you and go, well, you can't prove that. They wouldn't have that to strangle you with. But and
I understand what you're saying there as well. Like, some of these people may not be paid, but what I put it down to is their actions, their time spent, and the rhetoric that they use with their time spent. So I'll use Tim Osmond as an example. This person he's on every single Flat Earth channel, whether he's using his main account, the Love Heart one, whatever it may be, little symbol for his name. All right, but the point is, he's on every single Flat Earth channel that that comes out, whether it be a new one, whether it be an old one, whether he be using an account that he's not known by, is irrelevant to me. I can tell by the rhetoric that he uses which accounts are his and which aren't, and I don't expect other people to be aware of who these people are or what accounts they're using. I've spent a long time looking into it and watching these people doing the things they've done, so now it's easier for me to see for myself. All right, so I can tell you that Tim Osman is on every single channel and he spends 95% of his actual time on here. Well, if he doesn't have a paycheck elsewhere, how is he able to maintain his life? Not his lifestyle, his life in general. How is he able to go to the shops to buy food if he doesn't have an income? His income seems to be associated to coming to these channels and doing the things he does. And I can put that with other people as well. So like this Clive Adams, he seems to be on majority of the Flat Earth. I won't say all of them because I've only seen Clive on a few shows and I haven't seen him on all of them all the time. But there are people that you can pinpoint. You can make a channel, a brand new channel of your own. You can start it up and then make a live hangout and put on it Flat Earth. And you can see the people that join your chat. And these people are the ones that are always here, whether it be 8 hours a day, which seems to be the role that most of these trolls play, these media shields, is 8-hour intervals or 12-hour intervals, depending if they're doing overtime. And you notice they'll be on every single channel, whether it be yours and you run yours for 8 hours, they will have different tabs open. So you can then shut your channel down and go to the next Flat Earth channel, and they will be there spewing the same rhetoric, the same garbage towards somebody else. They'll be sitting there arguing their mundane points that lead nowhere, the same way that they've done it a year ago to 2 years ago. And if they don't have an income elsewhere, how are they able to do that? How are they able to maintain themselves? Like, I've been around for a long time, but I have periods where I'm on and off. I don't come here every day and do this. I come here when I have spare time to do this. I have to go out and make money. I have to go out and do things in my life. Well, these people, their money seems to come from this.
I mean, I hear your arguments. I'm maybe going to change the subject because it's one where we will end up disagreeing, because I could just easily put across the argument that it's full-blown indoctrination and there are people who are time rich. You know, I'm one of them. I could, yes, I don't necessarily spend as much time in Flat Earth chat rooms as I used to, mainly because I'm banned from a lot of my counterparts' channels for whatever reasons. But that, you know, I'm in a similar position. I understand where you're coming from, but I don't necessarily see it when it's flat earthers who are doing exactly the same thing. And I hear the exact same arguments from ball earthers about us.
So if I can interject there, sorry. If I can interject there, I don't just call out the so-called ball earthers. I call out these fake flat earthers as well, because the time spent is what I refer to it as. Time spent. How much time do these people spend on these shows, and how would they? And I asked them nicely, like, "Hi, my name's Adam Dwyer. I live in Sydney, Australia. I do construction and labouring for work. What do you do? What do you do with your life?" And I get the same type of response: "Is fuck off. You know, you don't need to know anything about me." All right. If they're a real person and they have a real life, then they wouldn't be so held back. They wouldn't be so skeptical of letting people know what they do. I'm not asking exactly who they are. I'm asking them from a generalization. What do you do with your time other than spending it on flat Earth shows? Well, they don't tell you that, and they never want to even approach that topic. All they want to do is argue about mundane points that lead nowhere, like how big is the sun, or you don't know what the sun is, or, you know, the boats going over the horizon, etc., etc., etc. All these topics, they lead nowhere. They don't get anybody to real information. They don't lead somebody to coming to a conclusion that something is sinisterly being perpetrated on us, that there's companies out there that wish us to come to their shows and then click on their shows while they earn the money and we pay them our money. I have to go out and, like I said, I have to go out and work for a living to earn my money, to earn enough money to go buy the furniture and the food and, you know, whatever it may be, my travel. All right, I have to go out and earn money. Well, these people are here 24/7. How are they able to maintain? How are they able to eat?
But again, it's back to the non sequitur conclusion. Just because somebody's got enough time to dedicate their life to being on a flat earth chat room every waking moment, you know, some people are, in the same way as I am consumed with putting out material and making flat earth content and talking about this subject. And in every facet, in every aspect aspect, this being one of them. You know, I'm compelled to do so. And believe me, the 50, 100 bucks sometimes that I get from advertising on my channel, it's not worth it. It's, you know, 5 cents an hour or something ludicrous if you want to break it down in those terms. So I can easily understand, you know, the appeal for the content, for the nature of the subject. You know, when I spoke to Brenda, she's fascinated by the subject.
How are you able to buy food for yourself and your family?
Am I what? Sorry.
How are you able to buy food and whatnot for yourself and your family?
Well, I mean, I said this to you in the chat before we joined. I'm time rich. You know, I do a menial. Should I say that? No, I can get away with it. A menial job because I want to. I've had a jet-setting lifestyle. You know, it was made my heart sink when you hear Spurs. I'm sorry to do this to you, my friend. Denying the southern rotation of the stars, and you're like, oh God. You know, having been there, seen it, you're there. Presumably, you're not going to now deny what he denied. I can't for 1 second think for any reason that you would. You know, there's millions of people who witness this daily. So to deny it just because you haven't seen it yourself.
But that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in, like, the question that I really asked was, how are you able to buy food for you and your family?
Because I've got a part-time job that pays me.
If you're time rich and you're money poor, how are you able to maintain living?
With difficulty, you know, I'm very, very tight. We buy out-of-date food that's out of date today, you know, with the little yellow labels on that cost 2p. My kid's breakfast will cost 2 pence tomorrow, you know, because we're poor. But that's out of choice. You know, I'm not claiming poverty.
But how are you able to get any paycheck then? How are you able to get any revenue for yourself?
Oh, right. You're asking what I do for a living?
Yeah.
Right. I drive a van, so I deliver groceries to other people who would rather pay to have their groceries delivered by someone like me. But I do that in the evening,
there we go. So
part-time.
you do have a job that brings in income. All right?
Yeah, I've got a job that brings in an income, and without it, I'd be pretty screwed.
Yeah, you live off that income. All right. So whether you how you spend that is irrelevant. You've just told me that enough information about yourself that I wouldn't assume that you're paid to be here. You have a job that brings in an income that you're able to then maintain your lifestyle, whether it be in a poor fashion or a rich fashion, is irrelevant to me. Well, now I can use somebody like Tim Osman as an example. All right. What does he do for his job? What's his position in this world? What role does he play?
Maybe he's got a rich mom. Maybe he's got a rich dad.
He spends a lot more time than you on these hangouts. He spends a lot more time on these hangouts. All right?
You're looking at it from a perspective that's your perspective. I mean, if I'd have carried on in the job that I had, I mean, I was dismissed unfairly. There was a horrible court case that ensued after my departure from my jet-setting job. But had I have continued for, I don't know, 5, maybe 6, maybe 7 years at a push, I'd have enough money to do this without needing the shitty part-time job. You know, so I could easily do this without giving you the same answer, and I could easily list half a dozen people that I speak to daily that are in that position. That they are self-made or whatever, you know, they've got their money that they can live on through whatever means. It's unfair for me to discuss their, you know, positions, but in many instances, through a prolonged period of gaining their trust, they have told me why they are financially secure, and some of them aren't as financially secure as they may make out. Some are more financially secure than they make out. But ultimately, you know, to divulge those sort of details, I'm cool with it. You know, for some that aren't in the position I am, because I'm reasonably well off, I've got obviously nice equipment around me that I've paid for, and I've done that when I had a good job, which means I can have a crappy job. But some people aren't in that position. They just have the crappy job and no nice stuff from a jet-setting job. And they would be in a position where they'd say, from my perspective, why isn't everybody in this position? How can anybody just sit around making videos, which is the point you're making? And I'd say, well, I can easily justify how people can do that. But I can also see the globe heads accusing us of the same, or me.
You can't because, like you said, they've got some type of way to get their material needs, their resources. All right. So whether it be that they're self-made and they have they grow their own foods and whatnot, they need to maintain that. So their time can't be 24 hours a day, all right, 7 days a week spent on YouTube. Some of their time would be allocated to maintaining their maintained, whether it be self-made or not, whether it be holding a position as a cleaner, whether it be like a driver however, like you said, all right, some of their time is required elsewhere to earn them enough money to get the resources needed to maintain a lifestyle in general. Well, when I see people on here 24/7, all right, that makes me very skeptical of that person and their real agenda of being here. All right, it makes me assume that they are being paid to be here because there is no other way that they would be able to maintain any type of a lifestyle without income. And the income must be coming from them being here, considering that they spend their time here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to move on. I'll have to say it again. That's a non sequitur conclusion.
Yeah, I understand that. We can agree to disagree, but that's the point of this.
But you make valid points. And, I mean, the other things that you drew from your gaming experience, that I found truly fascinating, because you were talking about, I can't even remember the acronyms you used. You put letters together and I asked in the chat for you to say it, and you did on the show. About people compiling fake fraudulent views. And, this is something I get asked about a lot by a few different people who tell me this person's faking their views, this person's faking their views. And after 10 years of being on YouTube, which is how long I've been doing it, I've had all those paranoid feelings. They've been gone, and I've looked into it and found the justified explanations from YouTube to my content. But then when someone like you says, no, you can fake views. And again, I'm not going to name any names, but someone showed me an example of this recently, literally live. They told me to go to a specific channel and watch the numbers as they made them go up. I was amazed. I watched it happen. But I mean, maybe you know how, I don't. Can you detail what you're talking about? What was the acronym, the 3-letter acronym that you had?
The IRC, Internet Relay Chat.
Right. So what is that exactly?
The Internet Relay Chat is, there's different programs you can use to open the Internet Relay Chat, and it is any chat that is running on the internet runs via a relay chat one way or another. All right. So
what's a relay chat? I'm sorry about my ignorance. I just don't know what any of these terms mean.
It's a program that runs the servers of the chat. So
Skype would be considered one of those then, yeah?
Every chat that has it. Facebook, if you're talking on a Facebook chat, if you're talking on a Skype chat, it doesn't matter what type of a chat it is. If it's a chat on the internet, it's run via a server off an internet relay chat.
Okay.
So every chat, if you type comments into a live chat, so if people are communicating via a chat and they're able to respond to each other instantaneously, that is being transmitted via a server. So there is a server out there, somewhere that's holding that, that's maintaining that. Right. And from there, you're able to access those servers via an internet relay chat program. All right, there's several out there that you can find yourself, or you just look into it, internet relay chat, type it into Google or any search browser and type in internet relay chat, and you'll find programs that will let you access the servers, and all you have to do is know the passwords to enter. And then once you've entered these servers, if you're on the right programs and you have the right programs, you're able to make what they call bot accounts. So you're able to make accounts join via just a few clicks. So you can set up 1,000 to 10,000 to 1,000,000 different accounts that once you push one button, they will all click a chat. They all enter a chat at the same time. Whether they speak is, you can make them speak. You can enter scripts into these accounts one by one. Or
what do you mean make them speak? Actually chat in the chat?
Yeah, I can do that on Twitch. Like I used to do it for people on Twitch. I would set up accounts to talk to themselves. So I'd make one account to talk just to another account, and then it would entice people to come to the channel because they think that there's other people there, when it's just two bots talking to each other.
Right. So,
and you can do that many times. So I would do it, for friends and whatnot. I wouldn't expect any revenue for it, but I would do that for people that I knew on Twitch for free.
Right. So for example, in our chat at the moment, we've got, let's pick somebody that I know is real. We've got Hoary Sheet Show and your best buddy John Watson. So for the sake of argument, you could set up those two characters, fake, as people, give them conversations and program in that those conversations would take place between those two bots in the chat, and then they'd register as two people watching the show, talking to each other, but they're not real. They're not real viewers.
Yep, exactly.
Right, and you can just repeat that process.
To other people that are real. I could also make it so then if somebody else joined the chat and directed a comment towards one of those two, that they could respond. If you know how to script a bot, so that's writing in scripting language, it's not hard to learn either. This is all just, it's very simple. This, if you look up, what would it be? Scripting an IRC bot would be.
Not for some.
That
I mean,
would be.
my dad's or was before he retired. He was a programmer, so that's all he did was write scripts, and he'd show me,
and then all you'd have to do
I'd
is
glaze over.
It's very simple.
You know, when you have
simple,
that conversation with somebody who's just not interested in flat Earth, and they have that look. That's what I get when I look at scripts.
Yeah, well, definitely. But there is some people that enjoy sitting there writing the scripts. Like if you go onto Twitch, there's bots on there, and they're called bots. You know, whether it be Nightbot, that is also now used on YouTube. But there's other bots. If you go to Twitch, Twitch is a good example because that's where it's easily accessed by everybody. Easily accessed, like a 10-year-old can do it, and they're allowed to do it. All right. Where somewhere like YouTube, it's a little harder to get in. You have to know certain passwords and whatnot, what they call authorization codes, to actually enter the chat with a bot. And networks like larger media companies, they would be given these authorization codes. So somebody like TYT, the Young Turks, Alex Jones, the True Frequency Radio Network, these media companies, they would be given these authorization codes to allow them to use bots networks. Whether they make these bots speak is irrelevant. Like, you don't have to make the accounts speak. You know, that's how they take the number. What? Beg your pardon?
I didn't catch the last bit. You don't have to make the accounts what? Stick?
Speak. You don't have to make them comment.
Right. So what you're saying is you can just use you can just make them come in and prop up the numbers.
Yes, definitely. Yes. You can just make them come in and prop up the number count.
Okay. Because again, I'm not going to say who showed me this, but somebody showed me, I've already mentioned this, haven't I? But yeah, when the person was showing me, they were explaining that it was very difficult to make the numbers go up, you know, and we're talking smaller numbers. He was getting it up to, you know, he said, I watched it go from like no viewers or one viewer to 6 viewers, and he was like, I got it up to 20 the other day, you know, like, and it was taking a long time, like 5 or 6 minutes, with me sitting there.
Not too hard when you know what you're doing, though. When you know what you're doing, all you would do is the longest process would be to make the accounts themselves or to name the accounts. All right, but there are, like, I've got friends that showed me how to do it, and I don't remember the exact process that they done to do it, but they would just make a script that would then make accounts. So the process is to know how to write to use the computer language to write the script needed to then make the accounts via the IRC network.
What you're saying is, let me just get this right. So you write a piece of script that says it's like a machine making a robot,
yes.
Right? In other words, you're telling the script to make the account to then go and fake the view. Is that right?
Yes, and you can do that to continue the script on. You can tell it to, once it's finished that, to do it again.
Okay, so if you've got the right type of script and you're good at doing it, you can just do this to your heart's content, and then next thing you know, you've got as many viewers as you want.
Yes,
until where's the fun in that?
The script. Beg your pardon?
Well, I'm just, I mean, for me, it's 3 a.m. I get a lot of, obviously, UK audience. They're all asleep. So it doesn't shock me when there's 45 people watching instead of hundreds. You know, that's, to me, not surprising. Do you know what I mean? Mm. If it was the middle of the day and there wasn't 100 people watching, I'd be like, oh no, I'm not very popular. But at this, middle of the night, literally 3:30 a.m, that seems right. But if I was to have that mentality and go, right, I'll, whatever you've just said, write a script and make it bot up my channel so that I've got 200 people.
I've seen it actually being done. Like the process that I would use is I would manually make the account. So that's a longer process. I would make an account and then, give it credentials, give it the information required to access the chat. But my friends that showed me how to originally use these IRC networks, they showed me within seconds of them doing it. They sat there, they wrote a code, and then suddenly the account started making new accounts. And within a minute, there's 1,000 accounts in there, and they can use them 1,000 accounts to join anything they wanted to join, any chat that was going.
Right, but what you're saying is if you were to try and do this, you would literally, well, obviously anybody who knows you've got a zillion A4 accounts, and you can re-enter any chat you like if they ban you. We'll get on to the interaction that you and I and others have with the chat in a minute, but you're saying that you would manually create Joe Blogg's account, and then what are you saying you'd have to do? Register it and on YouTube as a new person?
Well, you'd have to enter the authorization code to let that account join the chat, because you can't just join the chats. Like, there are chats out there that are easily joined and you don't need authorization codes to join, but somewhere like YouTube or Twitch, they require authorization code, and usually with an authorization code you have to enter some type of credential. So you have to give a name and you have to create a password, etc. There's a process to get the authorization code, so then somebody can be held accountable, I guess, if something happens. But there are ways to get around that. I've seen, like I've said, the people that originally showed me how to do this showed me how to bypass it all. It's just that I wasn't too savvy on the scripting part of it that I realized what they were actually doing. I understood what they were doing, I couldn't do it myself because I wasn't knowledgeable in the scripting language.
Okay, so without sounding dumb, but this is obviously for the audience's sake, what would be the useful benefit of doing this? Why would I or anybody else want to have 1,000 re-scripted bot accounts coming into my channel?
Well, you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to have them comment, and if they don't comment, they're just going to sit there and increase the number count of your viewer, your viewer count. So that means that if you make 1,000 accounts join, you got 1,000 viewers there, and if you've got 1,000 viewers there, your channel is more likely to be put in a recommended section.
Right. I mean, something that gets bandied around a lot, again, other people have discussed this with me specifically, is buying subs and viewers. Presumably then, from what you've just told me, I would extrapolate out that there's people like you or others who can do this, or the people who showed you, that would offer this out specifically as a service. Is that...
Yes, so then people don't have to learn that process themselves. There's some people that are already out there that have networks of accounts or bots or whatever you want to refer it to it as, where you can pay them $5 and then you would get an increase of 1,000 viewers. And all they do, that means that you're getting somebody else to spend their time to connect via an IRC server. So it's opening to these people that are getting paid. All it would require them is to then access their computer, join the show with their 1,000 accounts, and then they get paid.
Okay. I mean, could it be the case though that if you were an unscrupulous company, in other words, let's put me in the position, so I'm the guy who's written all these scripts and I've got 10,000 bot viewers at my disposal, and I offer them out to market and say to random YouTube user, you can buy these views and subs from me for, as you put it, £5 for 1,000 views. Somebody pays it and then they get subbed up. Couldn't potentially the person just turn off those subs in an instant? So if it was like a paid subscription, so you're like £5 a month and we'll give you 200 subs a month, and then at the end of the 12 months you're like, sod this, I don't want to pay $5 anymore, and they just literally flick an off button.
All they do is just end the script, because the script would be written in a way where it says, like, it happens on, like, it was easier for me to understand via Twitch because that's where I got taught how to do it. But the script is written in a way where if you start a hangout and your show goes live, the script's written in a way where their computer's always running. Whoever writes these, the scripts and whatnot, they always have a computer running. So the guys that taught me, they had several computers running in a server network, all right, and they would always have them running. And if somebody started up their channel, the accounts were written in a way where they would know. So it would say, like, if this person, like, this is not talking in computer terms, this is talking in human terms about a computer language, but it's written in a way where it says, if this person, Nathan Oakley, starts his channel and starts a live hangout, then you join. And there's 1,000 accounts that are made in that way, if you get what I'm saying.
No, I totally understand. It's logical as well, because that's what appears to happen, and now you're explaining how it happens. So it's like, it's nice to know how these things occur and the reasoning behind why there is these services offered. The thing is, I've never seen them offered. Again, somebody asked me about this, and I said, just go out and look to buy subs. In other words, try and be that person that's actually looking to do this and utilise this service. And the chances are you'll find, the method that you feel other people are trying to utilise to fake their subscribers. That was my logic. But, no joy from what I understand. And I've got no energy to dedicate to this particular subject. But it does interest me when someone like you...
All you do is, like, if you wanted to buy them, all you do is write into Google a search, any search engine, not just Google, Yahoo, whatever you want, whatever you're using.
Google? Are you joking?
To that is to type into that is how to buy subscribers or how to buy viewers.
Oh, right. For a second there, I thought you said write to Google, as in
no, like
actually apply to Google and Google would give them. I was like, really? Google give them?
Not to Google, but like use a search engine to search up the term. What I'd write in if I wanted to buy subs or viewers would be just how to buy subs or viewers, and then from there there'll be you might have to sift in through all the crap for an hour and find a legitimate source that is actually willing to do it. But after you spend the time in looking into it, I'm sure that you will find it very quickly, and you'll be then sent to usually an IRC server. Once you're sent to the IRC server, you sort of know that you're on the right path, and then from there you'll meet people that are actually sitting there all day making networks, is what it is. They're networkers. See, me personally, I could introduce you to a person, and from there he would teach you how to do it. He could do it. He could do it himself and then get people to pay him, but he doesn't do that. He modifies gaming consoles. The people that taught me, they modify gaming consoles, put hacks is what they called on the gaming consoles, and then sell them hacks.
I get it, right? But by the same token,
they use their scripting knowledge for a different purpose. They don't go around and make the networks of accounts, but they know how that works. And
I just don't see the point.
They're my friends.
For me, the whole purpose of being on YouTube is to build an audience. The numbers. Definitely. Who gives a crap? The actual audience figures. That's what matters. I mean, if those are distorted, then it's all for nothing as far as I'm concerned. And
yeah, I would agree. That's why I'm against it. Even though I was taught how to do it, I quickly then turned around and said, well, this is fraudulent. This is not what a real legitimate person that wants an actual audience would do, because it might say that I have 1,000 viewers, but I know the truth. It says 1,017 viewers. Well, that means that I've only got 17 because you're giving me 1,000 viewers. So then therefore I've only got 17 viewers. So
exactly. I trained in theatre, right? So it's akin. Yeah, the analogy is like you've got a theatre and you've got a crap show, but you put it on in 1,000-seat theatre and you sell 17 tickets in your analogy. But what you do is you go and buy a load of dummies, right? You go out and buy 900 and whatever dummies, fill the auditorium with dummies, so that when the 17 people walk in, they go, wow, a lot of people in here. And then you go one step further and you make the dummies, you put little tape recorders in them so they talk to each other. It's like you're kidding yourself. You haven't got 1,000 people watching.
In that sense, the auditorium is not max capacity at 1,000. And what it actually does, like I can understand why people do it, and they will continue to do it, is because if you have 1,000 viewers, people are more likely to stay around when they feel like there's other people there. If you join a show and there's only 2 viewers there, people tend to leave straight away. All right, so if you have even if it's a fraudulent number there, people will look at the number and say, all right, there's 50 people here, there's 100 people here, I'm going to stick around and see what these people are talking about.
Yeah, so I get it, but by the same token, it's just not my logic. I go to a show and assess it on its quality of material and nothing else. It doesn't really fuss me if it's got 6 people. I mean, it bugs me when there's really cracking material that no one's watching. So Knowledge Scavenger, now called I think she's called Bad Christian now, she just makes amazing videos at the moment, a bit like Martin Leitker, on top form. You go in, there's about 6 people watching, sometimes less than that, and you're like, and I'll share it, I'll put it out on Twitter, I'll put it out on Skype, and you spend 15 minutes, no, maybe not 15 minutes, 5 minutes sharing it on all the platforms you can share it on, and you'll get genuine viewers up to about 12. And sure enough, it's all usual suspects. It's, hi Zoe, how's it going? Hi Patricia. All the people that I know have actually come and viewed it. But that's the point. In other words, Patricia's actually watched that show. She's got the information. Who cares if you've got that massive number at the bottom? If no one's actually got the information, who cares?
The number, the faking of the number actually puts it into like the top recommended. So if I was to go in,
glad you said this. That's what I was going to come on to next. So how does it affect the YouTube algorithm? Because that I am interested in. Because obviously then your fraud example becomes a lot more serious. serious, because that's probably the reason why Knowledge Scavenger, or Paula, is seeing 6 viewings, because let's say there's 50 available audience members at the time.
So if I can explain now. So if I was to type in flat earth right now to YouTube, and I do this all the time, I type in flat earth and then I go to the live stream settings. So it says live and then only the live streams come up. Well, the first video that shows up is ODD TV. All right. The second video that shows up is ODD TV's rerun, or like somebody else that's broadcasting the same information but on a different channel, and it says it there. Then the third channel is a NASA video. Even though I've typed in flat earth, it says NASA space for friends or whatever it is, and it's just the video of apparently the ISS footage. We all know that that's fake, but anyway. And then you go down the list and you'll notice that ODD TV has like 100 to 200 viewers. The second video has 100 to 200 viewers. The third, so on and so forth down. Well, like you said, I'll use Knowledge Scavenger as an example. Her video or her channel won't be showing. That'll be right down the bottom. I'll have to scroll down the page for a good half a minute before I get to her channel, and then it will say zero viewers or 1 viewer or whatnot. Well, like I said earlier, is people are more enticed to join a channel that has the more viewers. So when I search flat earth, I'm in, like me personally, I don't go off this, but people that come on and look into these subjects, they're more likely going to click on a channel that has the viewers there. They're not going to scroll down and then find Knowledge Scavenger and her 1 viewer. And if they do see that, they've scrolled right down. They've probably been banned from all the other channels for calling them out and saying this is fraudulent. And then they'll eventually get to Knowledge Scavenger. By that time, though, they're already angry because nobody's paying attention to the fact that there's fraudulent activity going on all the way up the top. And when they've tried to call it out, they've been banned.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're speaking for yourself here, but that's fair enough.
Well, I'm speaking for other people too that now are coming out. Like I've seen several new channels. Well, I don't think they're new. The Flat Earth Vancouver, I think his name is. He's been around I've seen his account around for a long time. He's coming out and saying it too. And there's other people that are making videos, or they've been banned enough times now that they've made new channels and they're making their own hangouts, and they're addressing the fact that when you call these channels out, like the ODD TVs or the Jeranisms or these people that have the fake numbers up the top, you're banned, and then you're sent down the bottom of the, you know what I mean? Then you're sent down, and then you find these other channels where you're like, well, yeah, these are the people that have been banned. These are the people that have been outcasted for trying to address the issue of this fake number that's going on up the top.
But again, you've made really good points, but then you've thrown out specific accusations to individuals. And again...
Well, they are. And then their activity
but again,
shows,
I don't want to go around in circles with the non sequitur conclusion.
But it is, it's there. Like
your argument is sound without you throwing an accusation against ODD or Jeren or anybody. That's not necessary. You could have them on this, if they were here now on the panel, you could make all the same arguments and not need to call them out. Even if it was true, I'm not saying it is. Do you see where I'm going? It's combative because it may not be true.
They wouldn't come to a show where I'm on it because they know that I would ask them about their IRC networks. I would ask them about the fraudulent activity that they've been participating in. I'd ask them how exactly they're getting their views and why they aren't using their apparent subscriber count. So let's just use ODE TV as an example for this present time. All right, he's got however many subscribers and he's got however much of a following. Why isn't he using that now to then address NASA directly? Why isn't he going out and then making detailed videos directed towards NASA, asking some serious questions where we can get these questions addressed? All right, because I'll leave it at that.
But that's a Dan Pratt argument. I mean, Dan Pratt has said it on numerous occasions. Why don't these people go and address NASA? Why doesn't Patricia Steer take her 5,000 subs down to Houston? It's like, what? Why can't, number one, why can't you go down? You've got 2 feet.
I'm one person. I don't have a large following.
So what? But number two, I've got 4,500 subs at the moment. I've got control of none of them.
Let me interject.
When I ask my 4,500 subs to come to Leamington Spa, 100 came. That was for a jolly. There was food, there was drink. 100 people.
But let me interject. All right, when you have 15,000 subscribers over somebody like me that has a couple of hundred on my main channel, or whatever it may be, I don't even pay attention to the subscriber count, but somebody with a lower subscriber count and then somebody with, say, 20,000 subscribers. All right, the person with 20,000 subscribers has a large following. They would be taken more seriously. So if I sent a message to NASA, an email, or made a video and it tried to address NASA, my video wouldn't even be seen. They wouldn't even address the video because it hasn't been seen and it doesn't have any following. It doesn't have any viralness to it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have any backing really. All right, but these channels
even
with 15,000,
with 16,000 subscribers,
they have a backing. Their videos have X amount of views on them. They have X amount of subscribers that back their claims. That say that they agree with this person, and they would be taken more seriously.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it's one of those. I can't say for 1 second that any of my subscribers would do as I told them. In fact, I think if I instructed them to do anything, they would take aversion to that. They would be very, very angry with me if I directed them to do something. And you can encourage people to do things.
Directed. I'm not saying that they need, like, the person need you to, like, whether it be yourself or ODD TV with a large subscriber count. I'm talking about this large subscriber count that would be looked upon, and it'll be looked upon in a popularity variant where the NASA or whoever they're addressing would look at that and say, well, this person is taken seriously. They have 20,000 other people that subscribe to their channel, and they have content that is addressing us now, whoever it may be, a media company, NASA. All right, we'll use NASA as an example. So if you were to make a video about NASA, asking NASA some questions, and you had a 20,000 subscriber count, well, then NASA might take your question seriously. I'm not saying that you should tell your subs to do anything. I'm saying they will take your video seriously where you ask them question. If somebody like myself was to go out and make that video, that same video, I could word it exactly the same, they wouldn't even watch it because it doesn't have the subscriber count. It doesn't have the popularity.
Right, I think it sounds like we're talking slightly at cross purposes because I've got to use someone like Jaren as an example here, and you've already hit him up for having fake viewers. But someone like Jaren is saying exactly that. He is directly addressing NASA. He is directly writing letters to Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's doing exactly that. I mean, a better example is probably going to be IPS. So Infinite Plane Society has done all of the activism that people like yourself and Dan Pratt said, why don't you rally your however many thousand subscribers? Well, IPS has, and what do you know? He gets it in the neck for it.
Well, I haven't personally seen him rally towards NASA or make a video that's asking NASA direct questions.
Okay, he's raised $8,000 in 7 weeks to sponsor a rocket that's going to have media coverage. Now, that was something that was not voted on, but, it was a think tank idea, and the funding and the way it all came about, it's all been discussed in his live shows and come to fruition, mainly through donations, of course, from his audience. They have literally showed strength in numbers. It's exactly what people like Dan Pratt have asked for, and it's what gets criticised, a bit of activism that's moving in the right direction. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to be an activist, but you kind of are.
So that's
You're kind of saying...
The point of this is I personally wouldn't criticise that. I personally wouldn't say, like, if I don't know because I don't watch IPS's channel, I've been banned from there. But if I was to be aware of that and knew that IPS was actually trying to address NASA, or he was spending the money that was being donated to him on these rocket launches that may be able to record something that they can use as information at a later time, well, then I have no problem with that. Like, he's not I didn't even address IPS, but you see, it's the people like Bob or ODD TV or Jeranism, these people that are at the top, or the Mark Sargents, that all they really want to do is get donated to, but never do anything with the donations or never do anything with the popularity that they've received, except for make new videos that never really get anywhere.
I don't know. It sounds like you're taking a stance against the people that are actually on your side in terms of the message, at least in Flat Earth, because I can't do anything but disagree with you in terms of what Jaren's doing. He's literally built his subscriber count from nothing to to something like 70,000 subscribers. All he does is what you're saying.
Let me interject there. He didn't build his subscriber count. His subscriber count was given to him because he associated himself to the Truth Frequency Radio Network. All right, and any network would use the same type of methods and tactics that I've referred to earlier, using IRC networks and whatnot to fake a subscriber count. So somebody like Jeranism doesn't have the subscriber count that he's lying about. And then entices people, and it's a shield tactic, which is entices people to subscribe to him, so the legitimate people subscribe to him, and then in turn give him more credibility or more of a pedestal, and he's doing nothing with that pedestal other than receiving a paycheck from Truth Frequency Radio.
I just don't think that's the case. I mean, again,
we can agree to disagree. Like, I don't expect you to agree with me on.
Fair enough.
You know, like, that's what people try and make out like I'm trying to dictate to them on this. No, this is what I believe, and
fair
I
enough.
understand that.
That's why I'm not going to argue with you. It's just you're putting your beliefs across. Fair enough. But by the same token, obviously, it's much better when it's evidential. If you with the IRC networks, you've got great information that you can back up with evidence.
Just wait, let me interject, please. Let me interject. It is evidential that Jeranism is paid by Truth Frequency Radio. When you go to Truth Frequency Radio's website, and Jeranism is on their website as an associate, as what would it be, an employee practically.
But do they actually pay? Do they actually give out paychecks at all?
Really?
No, I'm being dead serious. I have no idea if Truth Frequency Network even have a personnel department that cuts checks. Literally, I had no idea.
Well, then we're just going to be naive about it.
I'm not being naive. I went and went to Vice. They didn't pay me a dime. I had to sign away all rights so that I couldn't make any money off it. I did. I mirrored it and put ads on it.
When you went to Vice, so how long were you on Vice? Were you actually, did you have a channel on their network? So if I go to Truth Frequency Radio, I will scroll down their list of people, and it's got Zachary K. Hubbard, it's got Jeranism, it's got Mark Sargent, it's got other people too that do other topics. So it's not just flat earthers. There's other topics that they touch on. All right. And were you referred to as such within Vice when you went and done?
No, sure, of course not. Vice? I just did an interview. My point is that does scale. There's people who will go and do shows for nothing.
You done a personal interview where these people are actually representing Truth Frequency Radio. You weren't representing Vice. You were being interviewed by Vice, where these people are on Truth Frequency Radio's their website as actual associates, actual people on their network. They are the Truth Frequency Radio network.
What I'm saying is, people give up their time without necessarily being paid. You see it on YouTube all the time. So why would it be any different?
Naivety.
Say again?
That's naivety to say that, like, there are people out there that do this for their own well-being, not well-being, their own truth-seeking wants, so they want to find the truth and whatnot. But
no, that's not what I'm saying at all.
That are paid to be here.
That's not what I mean.
You've got to separate the two.
No. I'm not being naive. What I'm saying is, if I see a benefit in going on Vice, I may give up my time, which is valuable, to do that. And in the same way, if Truth Frequency were to approach me and say, would you like to do a slot? I'd think, that will definitely benefit my YouTube channel. Therefore, if I had a Patreon, which I don't, that may benefit my Patreon. It may generate more ad revenue. There you go, I've got ads. It may generate more ad revenue because it will bring a bigger audience to my YouTube channel. Therefore, I may or may not be willing to give up my time to do that for free. Now, it may be the case they are paid. Let's say, for the sake of argument, this is all pie in the sky, meaningless nonsense because they are paid. Great. So what?
Well, then they would follow a narrative. If they are paid, that means that they are required by the company's law to follow a certain narrative and a script. That if they stray off that script, then that it's on their own hands, and they will not be associated to the Truth Frequency Radio Network or whoever it may be. That's how that works. That's how media work. If you don't follow their script, well, then that's on your own hands. That's your opinion. All right. When you are associated doing, being paid by a network, you have to follow their script. You have to do what they tell you to do because it's their narrative. It's their company that's held accountable in the long run.
But have you ever worked in any of these environments that are actually scripted? Have you ever worked in any of those sorts of situations?
What do you mean?
Well, you're talking about things that I have first-hand experience in. So I've been in a production situation with a producer making a script. Have you ever been in any of those situations to witness firsthand what actually happens?
I don't think that's relevant.
Of course it's relevant. You're saying these people are scripted. If you have absolutely sod all experience of what scripted means and what it takes to script something, how can you possibly speak with any authority on it?
You don't need to have participated in a script to understand how a script works.
No, you're talking about a system of scripting things. And I'm saying specifically to be able to say, this is how these people work within Truth Frequency Radio. They're given a script. I mean, it sounds like you're confusing code of conduct with script. Yes, there's going to be rules and regulations within Truth Frequency that are laid out to them, but that doesn't mean that they have to obey a narrative.
Yeah, a narrative. Yeah, that does. That means that they have to abide by a narrative. That if they stray away from that narrative or break the so-called code of conduct, well, then they would be disassociated from during that time of that opinion. That opinion would be on that person, and that it wouldn't be as like so. If Jeranism, for example, who is associated to the Truth Frequency Radio, strayed away from the narrative, all right, he wouldn't get the subscriber. He'll get the subscriber count would remain, but the viewer count for that particular video where he expressed his personal opinion would not be propped up the way that the rest of the videos are, where he's followed the narrative, followed the script.
Yeah, I mean, we can speculate about this all day. We don't know what happens within Truth Frequency Radio. That's the bottom line. You know, it sounds like I've got a better idea than you because I've worked in those environments. But to say that they must follow a particular narrative, even if that was true, let's say they said, let's pick something really contentious. Let's say that Truth Frequency turned around to all of their talent and said, we are not talking about the Jews. No go. Not allowed. Then if that was the way that particular company pushed that narrative, then yeah, okay, fine. If they don't want to talk about that particular subject, isn't that their prerogative?
Yeah, that's definitely Truth Frequency Radio's prerogative. But the point is they're suppressing people from expressing their personal opinions or revealing information that otherwise would have been talked about. It's a form of suppression.
I don't know. Some days I agree with you entirely. Some days I feel like it's a level playing field and I've not bought subs, I've not bought viewers, I've not paid for them. I think it's ludicrous to do so. I want the money to flow this way. God damn it. No way I'm handing over money for any of that kind of crap. But the fact that people do to generate more, you kind of think, I see the logic behind it. So on the one hand, if you were comparing a Flat Earth Truth channel to NASA, so let's say you flip this around slightly on its head and say, Jaren is absolutely buying views and he wants to have 500 people because that will give him more of a foothold in the search engines compared to NASA-based propaganda. In that case, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they would also be, and NASA would also be using the same tactics. So, like I said, if I search up Flat Earth, NASA's videos pop up in the top of the recommended list as well. So they're obviously using the same tactics that I've referred to. NASA is more fraudulent than the Flat Earthers. What I'm trying to get to is the point of people being on a level playing field. So then they can all address the facts. So if we were to stop Jeranism and whoever it is, I'm not just going to just say just Jeranism, all right? So whoever's using this fakery, this fraudulent activity, whoever's doing that, if they stop doing that, and then we can focus on all of us pointing towards NASA because they would be continuing to do that, well then they might be held accountable for their fraudulent activity. But at the moment, it's a cat and mouse game where if I blame NASA for doing it, well then NASA's going to turn around and say, well, they're doing it too. What are you talking about? And it has been done to me. I've had people approach me in private chats and whatnot and say, well, these people are doing it too. You can't sit there and say that we're not allowed to do it or we shouldn't do it when they're doing it too. And they're doing it to more of an extent.
Okay.
It's well,
we had the same,
you
were thrust into this exact situation. So you had Clive telling his audience that you're a monster and that you dox people and that you specifically eject people from, what's the word for it? when you bump someone off the chat. Snipe.
Snipe. They
was
refer
saying
to it as snipe.
He was saying you
It's
snipe
removing-
people.
Okay.
Then he proceeded to snipe you.
Remove. Yes.
With his justification. And this is kind of a parallel to what you're saying. So NASA faked the views, so therefore someone will come along and say it's justified to fake the views because we need to get a foothold over them, we're using their tools against them, blah blah blah. But you're saying no, it should be a completely level playing field. But the reality is it isn't.
Well, the reality
it's all great
is
with me,
people are coming to the conclusion eventually that it's both fraudulent, that you're leaving one cult, which is the Ball Earth, to join another cult, which is the Flat Earth. And it doesn't seem like you're going to get to any type of real truth because the Flat Earth doesn't really want to address NASA directly, and NASA is not taking anything that the Flat Earthers say seriously at all because they have not talked about that at all, the topic.
But your example falls over with Jaren.
It's leading nowhere. There's no real discussions. We have people that are remaining anonymous, like the Clive Adams or the Paper Explanator, that are coming to these shows relentlessly to debate for the Ball Earth, and yet they have no real credentials. We need people to debate against that have the credentials there so then we can get some solid answers.
But why? Why do you want answers from NASA? Why do you want this appeal to authority?
Well, why wouldn't you want answers from NASA? We're saying that they're fraudulent.
Couldn't care less. They're liars. I'm not interested in anything they've got to say.
Well, they're providing CGI footage. They're telling us that there's satellites in space. They're dictating the shape of the Earth.
They're not telling me that.
The parameters around the shape of the Earth and what it entails. So why wouldn't we want to address them? Why wouldn't we want a response from them?
They're not telling me that. I don't listen to that stuff. I don't get that on TV. Yeah, it's forced into my mind. I'm being facetious in the way I present this. But, you have a choice in terms of what information you listen to and pay attention to. And for every ounce of energy you give to these psychopath liars at NASA, that's what they want. They want every ounce of your energy. It doesn't matter to them if you're disagreeing or agreeing. You're focused on them. It's the same with the Tim Osmonds that we discussed earlier. In some instances, they're useful. Therefore, they'll get my attention. But in many instances, they're not useful. They're just draining your energy. And in this instance, I see NASA as that. The amount of time and energy that people put into talking about NASA just gets people thinking about NASA, which is good for NASA.
I just have to go outside for about 2 minutes. I'll be back.
I may round up because it's like 4 a.m. and I've got to get up in a couple of hours to look after my kids. So to be compos mentis, I may just end the show here and thank you because it's been a really great conversation.
Yep, no worries, mate. Well, it's been nice and sorry to leave so abruptly, but yeah, thank you very much for the conversation and enjoy your sleep.
It's been a real pleasure. So cool. With that, I'll come back onto my main camera view and round out the show. Good timing because I am pretty much exhausted at 4 a.m, so let's do that. So, to all of you who have joined us in the live chat, thank you very much. It's been reasonably cordial as I've been watching the chat scroll up on my phone. So, thank you to all the lovely chat participants. It's been good to have 4D4M, otherwise known as Adam Dwyer, on Flat Earth United. An absolute pleasure to actually chat to him as a very, very, very long-standing flat earther. He's been in amongst the midst of this for a considerable amount of time. So, it was great to chat to him. A massive thank you to Adam Dwyer. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment below. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you all in the next video.